What is up? It's a Fit Gear Hunter, and this is the Garmin Instinct 2X. We're going to do an initial hands-on review. We're going to look at all the ins and outs of this new Instinct 2X and talk about it in comparison to the previously released Instinct 2. So if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Please consider subscribing for more. So we're going to look at it thoroughly and in full. We're going to look at the design overview. I will share out of the gate, I don't have the Instinct 2. I cannot keep all the watches on hand that I test. I have to sell them in order to be able to purchase the next watch to test. So I don't have the Instinct 2, but I will talk about all the feature and highlight differences, specifically the size, the weight, the features that are included, the benefits, and the value. Looking at this just standalone, as well as looking at it in discussion or comparison to the Instinct 2 regular. So also, we're going to dive into heart rate graph, just a long-term comprehensive Garmin heart rate testing for the particular heart rate sensor that's on this. It's on all the watches that are out recently. We're going to do a flashlight test to see how it compares. The flashlight brightness compares on this versus the Enduro 2, and what would likely compare to the Fenix 7X. So we're going to get into all the nitty gritty. And then at some point in a few weeks down the line, we're going to do the full comprehensive review to see how I like it after multiple weeks of use. We're also going to dive in to compare this and just look at it alongside the Garmin Enduro 2. Now, the Enduro 2 is a different offering altogether, but it's a very similar offering because of the features that have been added to the 2X and the overall size comparison. So we're going to look at it sort of side by side so you can gauge what you look at, just to further get an idea of how the Instinct 2X looks in person and in size, alongside a watch that is a little bit bigger from the Garmin family. So with that, we're going to dive into a hands-on, and we'll come back together and talk about it. All right, here you have it, the Garmin Instinct 2X, and this is the tactical variant. So first things first, I'm just going to look at the band because I don't want it to keep it on there for any longer than I have to. I don't like fixed bands, even if it creates like a nice little curvature across the wrist. And I don't like this band in particular because it's got these ridges, sort of like the old Garmin style. So when you slide it through a buckle, you actually find yourself like jumping between ridge. Not as comfortable. So we're going to change it. And I did a whole video on this that you can see in the description below, to a quick fit style band, like, and boom, there you have it. Much better, much cooler, much different.
It's kind of blurry. That's better.
And if you want to look at size comparisons and just some other basic watches, so here's the 965 on the right, and you have the Enduro 2 on the left for overall size differences between those primary watches. It's like 47 millimeters, 51, and 51. We're going to look at the Enduro 2 more in depth. You can see sort of the screen differences if you're just looking at sort of how the widgets look across the different technologies. AMOLED, transflective with color backing, as well as the monochromatic that's now on the, well, it has always been on the Instinct, but it's got a little bit better clarity and resolution. So putting these off to the side, let's look in depth at the Instinct 2. So just looking, Instinct 2X, that is, looking at just the casing, it's an all plastic casing, 5-button configuration. The buttons are very snappy and feel really good when you press it. It has a case size of 51.5 millimeters across. So that is bigger than even stated. And that's just going from this inner center ring to the crest between these two buttons. It is actually 15.5 millimeters thick, which may sound thick, but is actually thinner than the Enduro 2 or Fenix 7X. If you look at weight, it's 67 grams, which is going to come in at 26% heavier than the original Instinct 2. It's using the 26 millimeter pins, as we just saw in the conversion, or you can see in the description below how to change these bands out just using the tactical nylon. So it has 26 millimeters versus 22. And what we all have grown to love is the flashlight. Flashlight is just awesome. I'll show you in greater detail just how bright it is relative to the Enduro 2 and talk about it compared to the Fenix 7 in a little bit later part of the video. So looking at it, if you go around the back, it's got the Elevate 4.0 heart rate sensor and pulse ox blood oxygen tracker. We'll look at the accuracy level of that in just a little bit. All plastic casing, just has a very nice, comfortable feel to it when you wear it, and doesn't feel too heavy or too big for me with my 176 millimeter wrist. If you were just to get a general idea of how it looks on my wrist, there it is, 176 millimeters on the wrist, but it just, yeah, it feels like a lot of the bigger watches that I wear, but not too big that I feel like it's problematic. So looking at this in comparison to the Instinct 2, besides what we just already shared about the weight difference, it's obviously bigger versus, it's 51 versus 47, 48 millimeters. The screen size is 1.1 inches. And if you compare that to the 0.9 inch screen size of the Instinct 2, that is 48% bigger. That is a lot bigger. That's a hefty change. That is a significant change. And one thing that I was most excited about that I am finding to be true is that the resolution feels clearer. It does feel like it's so much crisper, like the black is more black, the white is more white. So you can more clearly read the information on it, which is fantastic. It's brighter, so the backlight is got a brighter setting to it. I can't gauge or even test that, and not having an Instinct 2, I can't even show a comparison of it, but other video reviewers have done so. You have the basic glances. One thing that's nice, if you look at the glass, it is 1.1 inches. That is 48% bigger. It's using a power glass, so all this glass is absorbing some part of the sun, as well as these large solar strips on the side. And because the overall size of the glass is larger, you're going to get more solar capacity, more solar absorption. But because it's power glass, it is not sapphire power, so it could get scratches. You might want to think about a screen protector, but one thing that's nice is it's got this big lip around the edges, so you're going to have a little bit of solid protection. The thing about the plastic is it feels like a really solid plastic. It doesn't feel like cheap plastic. It feels well encased. It's got water depth up to 10 ATM, so just solid all around. And if you look at some of the other sort of minor differences between the Instinct 2, or I guess another major one, is the battery life is rated at 40 days without any sunlight, relative to the 28 days that's rated on the Instinct 2. So you're getting a 43% longer battery life. And the fact that it can absorb more solar gives it the ability to make better use of that and get even longer, more likely to have that forever battery that is quoted on both of them. This is dual band GPS, meaning it can hold to two different GPS satellites at the same time. It does not have Sat IQ, so it won't rotate between single GPS use and dual GPS use. It's just like you would see on the Instinct 2, is the widgets, they're just bigger. So they're clearer, they're easier to read, they're easier to glean information from. If you're in your 40s like I am and you have reading glasses, and I use a 1.25 inch reading glass, the Instinct 2 was just too hard to read, even with the backlight set to the highest possible setting. But this larger display creates larger fonts, and it gives you that ability to take advantage of that, take advantage of that aspect. It has training status. This is the advanced training status that is also on the Instinct 2. But one thing that is on the Instinct 2X that I guess is not coming, from what I have heard, is training readiness. So the full training readiness that you would get on the big boy watches, the expensive watches, the top of the line watches, is all here on the Instinct 2X. And I think that is a gargantuan benefit. So you're not going to have music storage on this. It's not going to download Spotify playlists so you can play it back, and it's not going to have mapping. It does not connect to Wi-Fi for updates. It's going to go through the phone, but it will not have mapping, so that is going to be a loss if you're comparing it to the Phoenix 7X or the Enduro 2 or the Tactic 7, that sort of thing. Mapping is a feature we'll look at when we look at the Enduro 2. One thing, it's got all the regular, and you will see some lag. I don't know if you can see it, but you see some lag sometimes operating between screens because it's poised for better battery life. This is a new feature, the obstacle racing, where you can track your obstacle course, your obstacle run, if you're doing a Spartan, and you can track your time both on the run side as well as the transitions, as well as each of the obstacles, to be able to compare it to future events if you're doing the same type obstacle course, same obstacles, to be able to see if you're speeding up on each of the particular obstacles, or to see if you have a lag point or a slow obstacle. One thing I forgot to mention is that this has got a monster vibration. When the vibration comes in, the vibration is very strong. So just something to note as well. But all in all, it includes so many, it includes all the features of the Instinct 2, much better backlight, much bigger screen, much longer battery life, and much more legibility, which is a huge deal for me, which is why I couldn't make the Instinct 2 work. The 26 millimeter lugs make it really nice for this band, for your options, just to have a much more rugged, in my opinion, type look instead of going from 22 millimeter to 26 millimeter. So let's look at a couple of features. If you're looking at the heart rate accuracy, especially when what I've been doing is tracking it for CrossFit and high intensity interval training. So the question is the Elevate 4, is the Elevate 4 accurate? And let's look at a chart. All right, so here's what we see in the massive compilation of many dozen workouts from different devices across the new Garmin Elevate 4.0 is that the heavier watches have a little less correlation accuracy to a chest strap. The lighter watches are getting about 0.947. And I would say that the Instinct 2X categorizes in the lighter watches category. Usually I say 60 grams or less, but at 67 grams, primarily because it's an all plastic casing and doesn't have the metal bezel that causes more torque across the top when you're doing more intense exercises. These data points are all from high intensity interval training, CrossFit training across months and multiple devices. So you're going to get about that 0.947 level correlation to a chest strap. So high level accuracy, or I'd say reasonably high level accuracy from the Instinct 2. So we can see that it does have high level accuracy. There's a lot of different rumors that say it's not accurate. It's not, it's not the Apple Watch accuracy. That's true. That's more in the 0.98 correlation calculation, but it is, in my opinion, accurate enough, very much so, for tracking your workouts. And then the other question is the flashlight going to be as bright? I swear I thought it was not as bright when I first got it out. So let's take a look at a flashlight analysis video. Okay, so first we're going to test the new Instinct 2X for the flashlight capacity. All right, 64.5, 64.4. And then now we're going to look at the brightness of the Enduro 2. 84.5. So definitely brighter, but not terribly far off between the two. All right, so looking at where it falls on the chart of flashlight brightness. So the Enduro 2 is the top leader, and the Instinct 2X is the second most bright. Even if you were to consider that the Fenix 7X has supposedly a flashlight 50% as bright as the Enduro 2, the Instinct 2X would likely be a felt bit brighter than even the Fenix 7X. And what's so surprising to me is that both the Instinct 2X and the Enduro 2 are brighter than the flashlight on the back of your iPhone 14. You can see some of the other just flashlight options just off of the AMOLED screens on the other devices, but there's where it's coming in. Okay, so how does the Garmin Instinct 2X compare in size and in some of the feature differences to the Garmin Enduro 2? We're going to look at it side by side so you can get a comparison for yourself and talk about the feature benefits and differences throughout. Okay, and now comparing it alongside the Enduro 2, which has been my favorite watch. The Enduro 2 has the touch screen. This does not. You have to use the button configuration, and you can just sort of see how it differs when you're looking at the widgets and the information. Obviously, you got monochromatic and full color. So you can see, let's just take a look at one piece of information. You can see what it is giving you for how the details look on the traditional transflective versus the monochromatic transflective. And that is it for that. So you can see again just how the widgets look when you go through each of the different widgets. So you're not going to have some of the little feature highlighted things, but you will get all of the information. So all of it is accomplishing a lot of the same communication of information. So that is the difference in some of the widget pieces or how the screen looks. This is obviously 1.4 inches and this is 1.1 inches. This is full color. It's got much better resolution. And this is monochromatic, as you can tell. If you look at the casing, obviously the Instinct 2 versus the Fenix 7X or even the Enduro 2 is going to have either stainless steel or titanium, as you see here. And some of those options have sapphire glass, sapphire solar. So is what this has versus the Power Glass, so more durability there. But size-wise, it's funny, but this is 51.5 inches in diameter, and this is 51.5. And then in the thickness department, the Instinct 2X is actually, and surprisingly, going to be 1.5 millimeters thinner. Don't know if you can see that on there, but it's 1.5 millimeters thinner, and that is including the heart rate bump. So you have a full titanium casing on the back versus all plastic again. So that's going to be some of the, the primary features when you look at the differences between the two. They both have dual band, but the Enduro 2 as well as the 7X going to have Sat IQ. If you get the dual band version of the 7X, Sat IQ will switch between 2 satellites locked on or 1 satellite, depending on what is needed. 67 grams in weight versus 89 grams. So you're going to get a felt difference, which is going to affect heart rate accuracy if you're doing more intense sports or more wrist flexion. And the flashlight, we saw the differences between the two. If you were just looking at the overall brightness, they are similar, but the Enduro is going to be about 30% brighter. So that is the difference between the Enduro 2 and the Instinct 2X. I like comparing these sort of head to head because I do think in their similar size model, they offer a lot of the same features. The other thing that obviously is going to be lacking is music storage. So you're not going to have Spotify playlists, and then you're not going to have the full mapping capabilities that this is going to have. If you can see here, you can see your map, and you can scroll around and pan and zoom and all of those types of things with the mapping, which applies to hiking and backcountry things, all the different features, as well as golf and skiing. So you won't get that on the Instinct 2X. So for $650 more, you can have the Enduro 2 versus the $450 price tag versus the $1,100 price tag on the Enduro 2 versus $450 on the Instinct 2X. In summary, it's really easy. This is an awesome watch with a power-packed list of features and benefits. With the addition of the dual band GPS now included, the addition of the training readiness that's offered only on the higher end watches in most cases, the addition of the flashlight now being added, 48% more screen space than the Instinct 2 original, 43% more general battery life than the Instinct 2 original. The addition of a brighter and clearer screen, which makes legibility better as your eyes begin to age. The 26 millimeter watch band pens versus the 22 millimeter pens. There is so much more in the Instinct 2X than in the Instinct 2 original. And I just would say, and the crazy thing is at the same $450 price point. So for the same amount of money, you get all those other features. So it would have to be solely based on you not being able to handle another millimeter more on the Instinct 2 on your wrist that you wouldn't consider immediately go straight to the Instinct 2X. The Instinct 2X is a far superior watch in so many capacities at the same purchase price amount. So with that, that's the initial hands-on review for the Garmin Instinct 2X in comparison as well and discussion to the Instinct 2 original, as well as looking at it alongside the Garmin Enduro 2. It's the Figure Hunter. Thanks so much for watching.